Hello, all. Welcome to Weather to Watch. I'm glad you tuned in. A couple things I'm watching. Is there a new Snowtrack developing? Also, we have some severe thunderstorm possibilities, and the warmth continues across much of the U.S. Let's dive in. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. I like to look at this chart. It's produced twice a week, and it is basically a week's worth of mean charts, whatever chart we choose. This is the 500 millibar chart, for an example. So this is basically the average flow at the 500 millibar level for the week starting yesterday, which was the 5th. And what you're seeing here is a real tendency for either the lines to be at higher heights than they normally are, or for there to be a bending northward. So this is ridging at the upper levels of the atmosphere. This is changing a little bit in that the west is becoming a little bit more of a troughing environment where the lines dip down and or the values are lower than they should be this time of year. So this is a real telltale sign. Usually this means more storminess in the interaction zone right here. And also under ridges, you typically see warmth, and under troughs, depending on their strength, and you'll see why I say that in a minute, it's cool. So if we're looking at this, it's the same period starting yesterday, 7 days, average temperature anomaly, and it's just roasting hot. So this is readings well above normal. In some cases, the mean is suggesting 20 degrees or more above normal in the Tennessee River Valley on average during this time. Again, since it's a 7-day average, I need to let you know that toward the end of this period, there is some cold air invading and some storminess moving through here, and we'll highlight that here coming up. Visible satellite loop on this Tuesday afternoon shows a swirl in the clouds over the Great Lakes and pretty fair weather in the Central Plains. Just some high cirrus clouds moving across Oklahoma. Same can be said for this activity down here in the south. It looks like more clouds, again, high clouds, pretty harmless, moving into the southwestern U.S., and it looks like a pretty progressive pattern in the northwest as well. If we look at the 500 millibar chart, it's roughly what we would call zonal flow. It just means it's moving basically from west to east. There are little disturbances embedded in this, little short waves like these little things right here, and there's one right here. But for the most part, the moisture is cut off. The only real storminess, if you even want to call it that, would be some snow up here that we'll highlight in a minute, and developing rain later in the week through here, along with some severe weather threats. And that's all because of this system right here that's coming ashore with one wave of activity and then another one probably behind it. Just take a quick look at what the computer thinks the weather map should look like here. And it's actually pretty accurate for about 6 o'clock this evening. Low pressure over southern Michigan. A weak front has moved through the mid-Mississippi Valley, and the colors on here are temperatures. So you can see, unless you're on the northern part of this cold front, there really isn't a significant temperature change associated with the passage of this front at all. This front's not causing problems. It will move through stall, and that's what's going to lead to this next chart, which outlines a slight but noticeable severe weather risk. I record a severe thunderstorm outlook when necessary that covers all of this. So I wanted to let you know, if you watched that this didn't change at all during the afternoon. They would normally update this, but it didn't change it. This is for Wednesday. It's a marginal risk across the central part of Oklahoma and down into Texas. Then we go to Thursday, pretty strong jet stream flow here. This is, again, the model mean. This is the ensemble run, the average of all the runs. So pretty intense jet stream core there over southwest Missouri. And under this scenario, severe weather is generally going to be possible, out in that area there. One limiting factor is going to be the instability, which is meager at best, showing up in East Texas, part of Louisiana on Thursday. But unless that changes, the main problem would be getting a thunderstorm to form. If it does, it would be in a pretty good sheared environment. But the question is, can one sustain itself with that limited instability? If we take a look at Thursday, and that's what we're looking at now, again, that broad brush forecast, that has not changed today. It may change tomorrow morning. But from central Missouri south into Louisiana, there is, again, a lowest risk, 1 out of 5, or a marginal risk of severe weather, and it appears to be in all modes. In fact, if we look at CSU's outlook for Thursday, there is a 2% tornado chance showing up in that exact area. But even lesser values of hail and wind damage. So as a severe weather outbreak goes, this leaves a lot to be desired. That's good news, of course. Could this change? Maybe. The instability may actually prove to be a little bit higher in the final analysis. So there could be an upgrade to slight risk, which is 2 out of 5. Wouldn't be surprised to see that on Thursday. And the area might shift a little bit, especially south, I think, in that area. And then on Friday, we're not done yet. We still have something from western Tennessee down through just about the heart of Mississippi into Louisiana. And the way they do it on day 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, the SPC, instead of doing the typical 5 numbers, they just limit it to either a 15 or a 30% chance of severe weather, any severe weather, within a 25-mile radius. So that's what that outlook. That's the explanation of why that looks different. And then if we look at CSU's product here, it's very common for the SPC forecast, which I just showed you there, to be reflected in what the probabilities are in this forecast. And just to underscore, this time of year is not great for severe weather. The possibilities is the climatology of 82 through 2011 that the Storm Prediction Center monitors. This is any severe for the period centered on January 8th. And yeah, it's occurring where you think it might. So the appearance of the bubble itself right here is more significant than the actual value, I would think. So this system is behaving as what you would expect for climate normals for this time of year. Are we done with the snow? Well, no, not really. And I'll show you where it is now and how it might change coming up here by this weekend. We still have winter weather advisories for much of New York State, much of New England here for tonight as snow moves on through. There are also winter weather advisories and a handful of winter storm warnings in the mountainous areas out west. That's pretty typical. If we take a look at snow through Wednesday, which is just tomorrow, this is pretty meager amount. So you can see the coloring here. There might be a 3, maybe a 4-inch total in northern New Hampshire or Vermont or parts of interior Maine here through tonight. And that would be it. That would be the end of that snow until later, much later. The snow forecast out west is very encouraging in the Cascades for skiers. It hasn't been great in parts of Colorado. Now, the western part of the state have received more northwest than, let's say, the central and southern. And again, I think that's a trend that's going to change. Plenty of snow around the Grand Tetons there in the Yellowstone area. And then one more snow forecast I want to show you, and this is just through Friday morning. It does show a little bit of a shift in the snow totals in Colorado, maybe a little more south and southeast, maybe even southwest, which is good for skiers. And look at this. This is a band of snow showing up right through here. That's interesting. And this is only through Friday morning. If I take a look at the GEFS total snow forecast, it's a simple 10-to-1 ratio. This goes out 2 more days. The last one was 3. This is 5. You definitely see an enhancement of the snow across Colorado, like I was saying, south central, southeastern even, through parts of New Mexico. And then a definite something happening here, a little bit of a storm track. The question is that 1 or 2 storms? And I think it's 2. Let's take a look at the GFS. So this is a deterministic model. This is just one run. I use it because this map doesn't really exist on the ensemble that I've been able to find anyway. But low pressure develops here over, the border between Kansas and Oklahoma. This is on noon Thursday. The back end of this might just be a little bit of light snow. So that's the first laying down of snow. So that 72-hour forecast, that's what that was. Then the front moves through New England, maybe the northern part of New England might get some snow out of it. But then look what's happening here. There's a secondary development, and that's a lot of what's leading to snow in Colorado Springs, maybe the Oklahoma Panhandle, something we really haven't seen this year so far. And then by noon Saturday, the low moves from here to here. And so there's an implied snowtrack right there, and more Arctic air spills in. So remember, I showed you that on balance this week will be warm. But the last 2 days of that week will actually be pretty chilly. This even shows up, though, in the EPS weeklies as a slightly enhanced snowfall rate area right through there. And that's not lake effect snow, and it's not clippers. It's actually a storm that's moving from southwest to northeast, which I don't know if I would call that traditional, but it's certainly something we haven't seen a lot so far this winter. And I do want to go way out ahead and look and see that the lake effect snow machine is going to turn back on again around the 18th through the 20th. Basically, this is just a slight risk of heavy snow happening in this area, and that's way out. That's 2 weeks out. And I thought it might also be interesting to show you today that the lower 48 is in 25% snow cover as of this morning, which, is really reflects the fact that we've had these clipper systems moving like this, and we've had a lot of lake effect snow in these areas here. But I want to compare it to a year ago. So exactly 365 days ago, we were at 42%. And Springfield, where I live, was in snow cover. And I remember several 1.5-foot snowstorms traversing this area. And then there was this big gap, I remember, in Wisconsin where they've gotten the snow this year and haven't and didn't last year, but have so far this year. It's all very interesting, and it changes monthly, yearly. You just never know what you're going to get. So back to this heat blast here. So this is going to last for a while here. And again, the way you read this is the colors on the left here are departures from normal. And it's intuitive, so it looks hot. It is warm for that season, but it's not a temperature map. But the actual city readings are, so in other words, 44 in Chicago may not seem warm to someone in Texas, but it's very warm for them for this time of year. Generally out west, a little bit cool, but that's really the only part of the country on Wednesday. If we move ahead to Friday, we're starting to see the impact of that storm developing here, cooler air ensuing, and high temperatures in the 40s are not exactly snow-inducive. It can't snow in those temperatures, but what's not shown here is Saturday, which does show a cool down, and then by Sunday already, that cool down moves into the southeast, and already it's warming up across the northern plains again. The 6 to 10 day temperature outlook does show a real confidence level. It'll be above normal beginning next week, Monday through Friday, in the northern plains, the Dakotas, Montana, and then even moving further out ahead to the 8 to 14 day. That covers the period of 14th through the 20th. Basically, the western half of the U.S. is forecast with some confidence level to be warm. Is there heavy rain embedded in any of this? Let's take a look. Certainly over the next 5 days, the heaviest rain will be coming in an arc really from Mississippi up through the heart of Tennessee, especially eastern Tennessee, and into the central Appalachian Mountains. A lot of this is rain, but as you saw, the back end of this could be snow. But we'll focus on the liquid precipitation part of this. So we are seeing through the next 5 days, and you already know when this is going to occur. It's going to start later on this week. We're looking at 2, maybe 3-inch totals through the heart of Tennessee, Nashville 3.1, Huntsville, Alabama 3.1. So pretty good rains there. Again, the first wave of this is going to be almost all rain except for a sliver of snow on the back. And then the second part of this might actually be snow melted down to get those rain totals. So there is a heavy rain hazard on Saturday. It stretches through this area here. And I remember also on Friday, there's severe weather possibilities here. Then on Sunday, this moves into the central Appalachians. And enjoy that rain because generally speaking, on the 6 to 10 day temperature forecast, last graph will show, there's a high confidence level across most of the country of dry weather. Only a sliver of the northern plains, Florida, and Texas are forecast to be in a maybe slightly above normal precipitation pattern next Monday through Friday. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.